Okay, we are going to call to order the Point Roberts Community Advisory Committee regular meeting for December 21st, 2023 at 7:03 p.m. The first item we have is adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that passes. Next is adoption of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Well done.
Next, we have correspondence. Under correspondence, the first, guess we received a letter regarding rooming houses. And a request for amendment of the community plan. Seems that is under new business. Shall we just move from that until we get to our new business?
Yes.
The next was.
Public Works, we had, in plays on the online, we had a comment that, people were being stopped unnecessarily on Tyee for, exiting and ingress and egress at the market in particular.
Right.
I contacted, well, let's just move that.
Move that thing that's under new business.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay, we're now at the first public comment.
Ingress.
So anyone online have anything for our first open session? Okay, seeing none, we will just continue on until the chief arrives.
Okay.
So under old business, first would be update on broadband for PRCAC.
Yeah, I have a quick update from from PUD, Chris Heimgartner. So I pinged him earlier this week on the status. And I also, after the last meeting, when Whitley had presented, I had sent an update. Just checking on where we were and also updating him on Whitley's plans, which seemed like there was a little bit of overlap in the grant that they were about to apply for. With what the PUD has already received from the WSPO. Anyway, this is the response. PRCAC Andrew, who was another PUD member. Andrew advertised the engineering for the project in November, and we are currently negotiating with the winning proposer. We expect to have an engineering contract to our commission for approval in January. Once the engineering job is let out, we should be ready to bid out the construction in 4 to 6 months. We expect to have the construction out to bid mid-year 2024. With that schedule, we should be able to begin construction third quarter and be off to the races. Again, all that depends on how quickly we can move through engineering, how hungry the construction firms are, blah, blah, blah. What we control is getting the construction contract to our commission, and we do expect to do that in January. And so that's on the award from WSPO and the funds being used for fiber, overhead fiber.
Okay.
On Whitbytel, Chris said he's not sure what's going on. Maybe it's a miscommunication. I asked him to contact them directly, follow up. So we're not, or different entities are not bidding for fiber for the same regions multiple times when we already have. Yeah.
So when you said like third quarter, 2024.
Yeah.
So that's when they start construction. What do you think in the way of what are we talking? Is it 18 months? Is it 2 years?
They don't have a dig for this one, so it should be a lot faster.
Should it?
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Overhead.
It's overhead.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So months, not years.
Yeah.
It still doesn't get fiber to the homes.
No, well, it gets it to in front of your home, and then if you sign up for a contract with whoever the ISP is, you know, just like Whitby is doing now on a case by case basis.
They just
Yeah.
they do the stringing to your house.
And can we tell people or give them a guesstimate about how much that's gonna cost?
They don't even know who the ISP is yet. This is just for
Yeah.
laying out the hardware.
Yeah,
Then they have to contract with an ISP. to
yeah,
provide-
I understand. What's the typical cost? to get it from the road to
I
the
don't want
line.
to speak on behalf of the
Yeah.
committee or anybody else,
Okay.
yeah.
Because it's all, I think it would be all over the place.
We have one reference point, which is the Whitby rate,
Yeah,
which,
and overhead is a lot different than
Yeah.
underground,
right,
In the ground, right?
right? You know,
Pulling cable, it's a lot of different string and pull.
Right.
Yeah,
so, that's. I'm just positive that, something's moving forward because it does appear, a couple conversations I've had about, why it's taking so long with Woodby. With the archaeological,
yeah,
is, kind of. They had an archaeologist say X, it went to the nation's like, no, we don't like that archaeological report. We're having our own done. And now Woodby doesn't like the archaeological report done on behalf of the Lummi Nation.
yeah.
So now it's like, are they gonna be able to come together to agree on a third opinion?
Yeah,
Because the archaeological changes the dynamic of a project significantly.
of course it does. Of course
Significant,
it does.
and especially depending on what part of the midden you're in and stuff, and if you do find something like we're talking millions, for that amount of stretch. Depending on if they find something.
I don't remember now whether the contract that Whitby, or the grant that Whitby is operating under, the USDA one. I
Yeah,
don't remember if that prescribes underground or that's just Whitby's choice. I think that's Whitby's choice.
You know, that's a good point, because if you run into the underground and you have poles, they're putting some brand new poles up here, PSE are.
the only thing for my understanding of the grant is that it has to be pipe,
Yes, but,
but that's it.
right, so anyway, Whitby, I
Yeah.
know, feel strongly about the benefits of underground, but if they're completely blocked at some point.
It might be,
Well,
it could go overhead.
Yeah, $1 bazillion to go underground and this much to go through the.
Maybe that's the next question we pose when we get an update from them, if it's, still like dragging,
Yes.
to switch it from underground to overhead.
Yeah.
Next is the drainage master plan. I didn't receive anything new over the last month. I know the guys have been out. I've seen them. But we weren't actually, I think, expecting an update from them. They said February.
Yeah.
Yeah, February is when we're actually expecting something, from the engineering.
So, Holly, just a quick question. Have you heard, or anybody in the room heard, or anybody online, heard of any extensive flooding like we did last year with the recent rains? Nothing?
Well-
I haven't heard it either.
Well, there's two different things. One, the ditches actually got dug. And
Right,
two, we actually haven't had the significant rain that we did last
right,
year.
but we did have a couple of,
Yeah.
you know.
It wasn't horrific.
wasn't-
I did go run and check the ditches and they were running.
They were running. I,
If they wouldn't have been dug, we would have had a problem.
yeah, and I checked over across from the marina and so on,
Yeah.
and walked that ditch and then walked the other one back to the actual development.
Yeah.
They were running.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so,
Yeah, that's what I was, it's just, it was a lot of rain, not necessarily like last year, but enough that if there was a problem, somebody would have seen
Yeah.
something, and I haven't heard anything.
We have the chief now.
oh, we have Chief Martin's here, so we're gonna pause on, where we're at. And welcome Chief Carlton, who is here to discuss, the transportation of deceased, off of Point Roberts, and such. Hello, Chief.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you very much. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody. So, to begin, obviously, Neil and I have been working on this for quite some time with the medical examiner's office and hospice when we have expected deaths within the community. But when we have an unexpected death, it becomes more of an issue, especially after hours on weekends when the medical examiner's office is realistically not available to do the paperwork that's necessary in order to have a smooth and seamless transfer the body to the county in order to get it to either the medical. Actually, if the ME takes, they'll do that themselves if they take the body for autopsy. But if they don't, and it needs to go to a funeral home, then we want to work and find a seamless area of transfer for the family and for the deceased. So we've been working extensively with the medical examiner's office. We've also had hospice involved with that process, and then dealing with the Whatcom County Sheriff's Office because they're the lead agency when it comes to an unexpected or unattended death within our community. And that becomes difficult, especially if we don't have an officer here on duty at the time. They will send officers from the county to come to our request, but that normally takes, up to an hour, maybe as long as 2 hours to get an officer up here because it's a non-emergency request. And then they start the paperwork and go through the process. Now, speaking to the sergeants in the past, they did work out some language for their supervisory staff that Anel is aware of as well, that puts in place very specific instructions for their patrol officers to follow in case of they're overseeing that type of death or paperwork that needs to be completed. We've had one or two since that paperwork or those instructions have been put in place. And I believe they have gone somewhat smoothly, but we've had some difficulties as well. So our goal is that the county would put someone on call for the ME's office that would be on call for 24/7. The first thing they're going to say is they don't have the money for that. Nor the ME's office is probably going to say they don't have the staffing for that either, and they would have to hire for a position. I don't believe the county would do that. And that puts us into another pickle. So it's almost a round table. We keep going around in a circle and everybody says we're working on it. We're looking into it. We're trying to find solutions, but again, Point Roberts is left to fend for itself if it's after 5 p.m. on a weeknight or anytime during a holiday or weekend. So Nell, I'd offer, time to you to add on to that, and then we can answer questions.
Recent conversation with one of the funeral homes. She pointed out that the health department has a role in all of this as well. Is that your understanding?
That is not my understanding, that the Whatcom County Health Department would not have a role. Realistically, it's through the ME's office, and they get called on every death. So they'll be called even, outside of hospice or an expected death, right? They'll get called on anything else. Then they choose whether or not they want jurisdiction of the body, meaning do they want to do an autopsy or not. If they choose not to do an autopsy, then that is handed over to basically a funeral home and has the family set that up. And you've been doing tremendous work on helping people understand the importance of having a funeral home in place. But those that don't, then the sheriff's office always has a funeral home on duty. But we've also had difficulty with the funeral home on duty being able to cross the border with their personnel to come to Point Roberts. Therefore, the fire district has had to transport a body in our ambulance to Blaine in order to meet up with a funeral home and have that transfer of care.
Right.
So I don't know any involvement from the health department's perspective.
Well, just in case there is a stitch that they need to put in place in this whole process, it's just my feeling, my suggestion that that PRCAC would write a letter to the county executive and the county council, making sure that everybody there is aware of this situation, that they have thought about it and that they are aware that it is an issue of significant importance. And whether they can do something about it immediately, or they give it to someone to work on and fix it in the next budget, that it needs to be brought to their attention, and we need to make the request that they handle it. It's ridiculous that we don't have that service, the same service that the county has.
Yeah, and again, everybody needs to understand there's no other area of Whatcom County that deals with what we're dealing with, because they don't have to cross an international border. And I fully support, I'm happy to support a letter with PRCAC's letter that we need to bring this to the forefront of a council meeting, or at least, as you stated, make aware every council member, because they may not be aware. This could be just at the executive's desk. I know that it's been referred that, you know, it's difficult to ask the ME to do such things because they are not a county employee. They're actually a contracted employee through the county, and that does not give them a lot of an authority to change or request different working environment within the ME's office to provide more services. Therefore, they're held to the contract that's currently in place. Now, I've heard from Sat Paul that they're trying to move that position into a county employee's position, so they have more control over that office. But who knows if that will ever get accomplished. So I think the first round is, as you stated, PRCAC. I'm happy to support that with a letter of my own to county council and to the executive's office. The importance of the need to have somebody that is available, that Point Roberts can call after hours to get things accomplished, to get a body successfully transferred to the county.
So, a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So first one is like, has something changed, or this has always been like this?
Well, my understanding is that the ME's office used to be a county office, and it recently, or just before COVID, changed to a contract. Is that your understanding, Chief?
I don't have that information, but since I've been the chief since 2012, this has been an issue. So we've never had efficiency in paperwork for our community in my experience, and I've dealt with dozens of deaths here since 2012. So it's an ongoing issue, and again, we're working on it. You know, it's on our radar. It's a topic of discussion, but we hear that a lot about it. We hear that about a lot of things that we need in our community, and we just get on that wheel that keeps going round and round. So we've always been successful at being able to transport the body one way or the other. My issue is that, you know, there's no other services that transport bodies by ambulance, and for my service to do that, I may be taking out my only available people that are covering the community at the time to take a body to Blaine. Now that's an hour and a half, hour and 15-minute turnaround. But if we drop a call during that period of time, the community may be unprotected. And I can't see that happen. So I brought that concern up. That's a concern that I would bring forth in a letter of mine as well. And we've always had this issue. It's always, and nobody else even thinks about this issue because there's not an international border.
My second question is, I know it's not the same situation, but how do some of the island communities deal with this? Like, the reason I'm asking is transportation over water an option? If they're doing something like that?
So,
Not have to cross.
yeah, so thank you for that question. We had a situation, excuse me, I believe last year or the year before, that we had a drowning down on Maple Beach, and it was during COVID, or at least the COVID restrictions were still in place. You had to be vaccinated to cross the border. And we ended up having to stay by a body that was on the beach for, I believe, 6 to 8 hours. because the medical examiner herself is not vaccinated and was not allowed to come through the border and look at the body because she wanted to come up and investigate it herself. So she basically commandeered the sheriff's boat, and the sheriff's department had to bring her up to the beach with their boat and pick up the body and transfer it back to the mainland. Now that comes a cost. That comes at a cost to the taxpayer. The sheriff's boat is not always readily available with staffing, and who's going to pay for that? It ultimately comes back down to the taxpayers. And that is not something that's in that's in place as basically an alternative to transporting by ground.
And that happened when there was good weather. If it was a winter storm, it would have been a completely different situation.
So,
Yeah, we have to understand the water is not passable at some points.
Hey, I'm sorry.
this is, I'm just looking, so I did look up, you know, our medical examiner's office, there's a medical examiner, there's her, and then there's a secretary, basically.
Mhm.
Which for me, looking at it, Whatcom County is now up to over 250,000 people. That seems a little ridiculous. It seems to me like this is far more reaching than just a Point Roberts problem, even though that is our issue. When I look at Skagit County, their coroner's office has a full-time chief deputy coroner, a full-time deputy coroner, and 3 on-call deputy coroners, and has a 24-hour line. And that is a county of like 150,000 people. So even though, yes, for us, this is even more so than the rest of the county, I think us bringing this to Whatcom County Council and the executive's office is not just going to benefit Point Roberts, but the county as a whole.
And maybe the elephant in the room forever. So, Chief, I got a question for you. Does it matter? Is there a prohibition on the type of vehicle or licensing that's required to transport a body over
Of course. Yeah, you have to be licensed, permitted.
The whole thing is that you got the coroner has to release the body.
right, but I mean, even
Anybody can come in.
past that, is there a prohibition on the type of?
You have to be permitted, you have to have a permit to move a body.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
but-
you have to be state licensed in order to transport bodies. In a side point, customs actually sees the body as a commodity when it gets transferred through the border.
That's why I was asking. That's why I'm asking the question.
Now, an
Because
emergency
see it-
services vehicle can do that, and that's why in the past, Canada is very specific on that a body's not going to spread communicable disease if something happens and the body's exposed, you know, to Canada ground or air. So, you know, they want to make sure that body's going to make a very efficient, effective, you know, no stops transfer through Canada. And that's why we've been able to do it by ambulance. But yes, any funeral home is licensed by the state to transport bodies.
But they do see it as a commodity though, right?
Customs doesn't. The funeral homes,
Customs.
they can, the funeral homes still see it as a person, but
Oh, it's a
obviously
person.
customs, you know, sees it as a
Yes.
commodity.
It sees it as a commodity, not Canadian.
Right, that's, yeah. Yeah. Either way, you gotta go through either one of them, but yeah, they see it as a commodity, okay.
So would you prefer the PRCAC draft our own letter and then send it to you and then have you add to it or sign off on it? Or how would you like to proceed, Chief?
You know, I think cooperation would be great. I think a letter coming from my office with our letterhead on it as well, I think would be a benefit to try to get some type of solution for our community, for those that do pass here. And, you know, Sat Paul has asked that the PRCAC be that body, and I'm happy to support that. So I'm happy to sign the PRCAC's letter and happy to do a letter of my own with our letterhead and to provide that.
If you do your letter on your letterhead and we do our letter and we put them in together as supporting each other on the same cause. So it comes from both.
Yes,
Right?
I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Lee's hand was up before she started. But I will ask, does anyone else have any questions for Chief Carlton? Because I know it's Thursday and it's late. He's had a long day.
Thanks, Chief.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry I was a few minutes late. But
It's-
I'm happy to be here.
I know. We are so glad to have you anytime that you want to come. We appreciate everything you do, emergency and non-emergency.
Well, thank you. And if anybody ever needs help, just please reach out and we'll do whatever we possibly can. And this is a big issue for our community, along with everything else that we've been asking for years, and really haven't got any ground running on. So I hope at this point, maybe this can be a start of everybody seeing the importance of not overlooking Point Roberts and understanding that we deserve the same as the rest of the county.
Well, thank you so much, because as you know, this particular topic is very close to my heart. Because you were there for us during our loss and getting through all of the hoops and everything, and anything we can do to make another family not have to go through that, I'm all in.
I agree. And thank you for very much, for having me. And I want to wish everybody happy holidays. I'll put a plug in real quick that, the firefighters are having a pancake breakfast this Saturday. And yours truly there sitting by everybody. Bill's going to be Santa for us. So it's from 8 to 11. And the proceeds will go to the food bank. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
And we'll see you Saturday. Thanks.
You're gonna go
Yeah.
caroling with us, Chief, on Friday night?
I stopped singing a long time ago. But if you will send me the information, I might be able to do something. So it might come out for a few.
Question one, I don't know if we've had a session after the November elections and bond measure passages.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but should we do an update on what does it mean, like, what will be the?
I think Chief will probably do that when in the fire department meetings, and once they, get all their budget and everything done, and then in the
Sure.
spring, we can have Chief come
I think
out
that'd
to
be
a
great if we
meeting.
can
Yeah,
use just.
you good with that, Chief?
Yeah, I'm happy. We passed 3 resolutions at our last meeting. There's 3 things that we've immediately done, and real quick, we're no longer going to charge for ambulance transports, and that's anybody that gets transported by our agency all the way to the hospital. Those are not going to be billed out. And now, if Airlift takes you, if any other agency has to take you because of our lack of personnel to take you down to the hospital or other situation that we can't drive you all the way, then obviously they would remain the right to bill through their agencies. But that's one big thing. And we'll do everything we possibly can to take people down to the hospital directly with our agency. But sometimes we won't be able to do that. So the other thing would be a welcome home program. We're going to be buying a vehicle in the first quarter that if you are transported to the hospital, however you get there, and you stay in the hospital and you get discharged, you don't leave the hospital AMA, but you're discharged, and we'll come down and pick you up and bring you home. Now, the only people that wouldn't probably be favorable to would be those that are not admissible into Canada by ground, and that would probably be any felons or people with records that can't normally transfer through Canada by ground. But we're going to come down and pick you up. So at 2 a.m., your loved ones don't have to worry about coming down and picking you up at the hospital if you're released. And there'll be more information on that in the newspaper. And then the third one that we passed a resolution on is that there'll still be burn permits required, but every type of burn will be for a year now versus a few days here and there. And there'll be no fee for any type of burns within the community. So that's going to be a cost savings to the people too. So we'll still have every regulation in place. So illegal burning is still illegal, and we'll still put out fines and send people to Northwest Clean Air. But 3 three big things that we were able to pass resolutions on this last meeting to start a benefit for our levy passing this last November. We would like to buy a new ambulance this year. We are looking into that. We're likely going to have to put up a pole building to manage the storage areas and our apparatus space because the new ambulances today are bigger than the one we want to replace. And then potentially getting new radios for the district. Both are a $300,000 purchase, so two items are $600,000 between each of them. And that really kind of sums up. The budget is there, and we are moving forwards with our capital facilities plan as efficiently as possible.
Sure.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
So, yeah, thank you so much, and blessings to everyone, and hopefully we'll see you on Saturday.
See you Saturday. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Okay, so Lee had her hand up before we brought on Chief. Did you have a comment, question, Lee?
No, I was just trying to make a comment before the king came on about Bill's comment, if anybody's seen anything as far as water and flooding issues, and I can assure you they're exactly the same. It's still a serious problem in any of the wetlands areas, and people have to work very hard at not having the corner of their houses fall down, and spending a lot of money because the county's not doing their bit. So I have taken the time to kind of travel around and take a look at the ditches, and it's just still a half-assed job, as we all know. Thanks.
Okay, so our next item is the additional membership. I went over that last month, that we had received an email from the executive's office, and that the empty positions will be filled in February from those that have applied. I know she reached out to Jared and everyone who was, because a lot of people had backed out. And there was people who were on the list that said I was in then, now I'm not. I've decided to do everything. So end of January, beginning of February, we should see on the council docket for our new missing members.
Do we know at this point who's still got their hat in the ring?
Elizabeth, Jared, and Mike are the ones that I'm aware of. Okay, so next would be the dog park. Anything new and exciting?
Well, sent a letter for everybody to take a look at. That is to go to Satpal so the letter's all ready to go. We just need to approve the letter and send it out.
Did anybody have time to?
This is
Yeah.
after.
After
Yeah,
that, yes, I cleaned up the letter for your comments, thank you very much, and then wrote an additional one to Bennett, Bennett Knox.
Kind of knows.
Right,
Yeah.
so if nobody has any,
I don't have any further changes.
okay, great, then I'll be off tomorrow.
Next would be Wacom Transportation Authority Circle of Care collaboration. Is there anything new on that?
Yes, you wanna go ahead?
I just real quick, I got the address for Lazarus from Ali. And one of the follow-ups I had was to follow up on type of after-school activities that were involved, that not that we would do it initially, but what kind of activities we could maybe help work on getting kids so they can go to these activities, so that we maybe find a way to use the bus to do that. So I'm going to, and I formulated an email to them. That's asking that, saying, hey, listen, not right away, but tell me some of these activities, how many kids are involved and so on. that we may help mitigate some of that by saying, okay, somebody takes the bus and goes and picks up 8 kids. Because you could then stay for your soccer or your extra efforts for meetings, for clubs and whatever.
So, an update on the procedural. Uh, yeah, meeting scheduled on the 10th, you have an email about that, with WTA and, Circle of Care Board. And, everything is expected to move forward. Again, just to reiterate, they are donating a van to Point Roberts. Circle of Care, because we are 501c3, is willing to take on the program and manage it. Circle of Care is very clear that this is not a mandate. So, we will be happy to manage it for 6 months to a year, but that the community needs to step up. And, we need drivers. The budget will include pay for contractual drivers, for a dispatcher, for repairs, for insurance, for fuel, and so forth. So we need the community to participate in terms not only of the need for the transformation, but also the infrastructure for the transportation itself. So everything is a go. We just need the final stamp, final vote. That's happening January 10th, I believe. And then we move forward.
So we should have a nice update in January.
Yeah, yeah.
Next was the emergency evacuation routes, which we were gonna reach out to. Not sure if anybody's had the time in the last month to reach out to PREP. Because that is a fire department program for the tsunami routes and fire. And of course, fire is very odd because you don't know which way the fire is going to go, right? So, but I know there was discussion started on possibly contacting the US and Canadian customs and finding out if we can get rid of the permanent barrier on Roosevelt and put it in as a gate that customs agents could go unlock in
And make
case
it
of an
easy to
emergency.
facilitate no matter what.
So I'll see if I can follow up with prep on that, but it was a discussion that was starting to happen,
Yep.
that it makes sense in case of any kind of emergency that.
Makes it easier
They could
than
open
having to
those-
mess
open
around
those
and moving Jersey barriers.
Right. Environmental constraints public workshop, I'm working on that, hoping to have a group together for March. Between, wetlands, everything. Archaeological, try and get everything covered in one fell swoop. So that it's basically Whatcom County PDS for critical areas and then the state for the archaeological. Just so that we can do that education as well. And also going to reach out to see if we can get our date set for next year for our septic classes at the same time. So we will work on that. Effective communication with the county.
You retire this? Okay.
Can we retire this topic? It's our life. This topic is our life. I think to be able to have effective communication with the county, I think we have great communication with. We've been working on it with the health department,
Stop.
with staff, with PDS, and I think that's just where we need to go. Communication other ways doesn't seem to, we just need to go work with staff, get that done.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I did have 2 meetings in the last 2 weeks, one with District Representative Joe Timmons. Him and I spoke for about half an hour. And then I was on the phone for about an hour and a half with, the aide to congressman. He emailed me to follow up, Congressman's visit, and we had a nice lengthy discussion about infrastructure requirements and things that Point Roberts needs. And both are having their staff dig into different funding that is available through state and federal, and are both more than willing to work with us to then go with us to the county with, for our community. Which I think is extremely helpful, and as well as work with us to work with Port of Bellingham to accomplish some of our items that we've been trying to accomplish for years, such as a economic development plan. Because without an economic development plan, you can't, can't do a rezone, you can't,
Yeah.
it has to start with an economic plan.
And the port.
And the port is the one who does. I think we just keep doing what we're doing and creating great relationships with staff, and I think that seems to be working for us.
Yeah.
In a place that you get results and you get the communication, that's what you do.
Yeah.
You don't intentionally leave anybody out, but,
Well, no, I think it comes down to the executive's office doesn't want to hear the complaints. They don't want to hear, they want the answer. So the best thing to do is to work with staff and create the plan with staff, and staff that can make it work.
Right.
And then when it gets to the executive's office or gets to council, it's not us saying, oh, well, we could do X, Y, Z. It's staff saying, hey, we've been working with them and we can accomplish this.
I'm gonna put my head on anonymous staff member shoulders, and somebody from Point Roberts PRCAC is on the phone with me, and I'm wondering, I'm already wondering how I'm gonna get all the work that county council has approved and sent my direction. And here I'm on the phone with somebody from PRAC talking about problem and doing some, wanting me to do problem solving. Is that how they operate? Are they willing to do it that way? Or are we gonna have to take a number to, to get their time and attention?
For staff?
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think it's important to work with our state representatives and, possibly Senator Schumacher, because she wants to do a project here in Point Roberts, but working with the congressman, because the one thing the congressman was super happy about was the fact that, like, the Parks Board has applied for and filled out for getting solar for the building, for this building. There's solar grants out, also put out to get the EV charging stations, right? Things like that. And that the more our community does that, right, they see us actually putting in work, which makes them want to work for us, right? So work with us. Like, they don't want to, you know what I mean? It's, they want the give and take. They want us not to just go, okay, here's our problem, solve it. They like that we're trying to solve some of our own problems and we're finding the ways to do it.
I guess to Annelle's point, if ever we run into a situation where staff says we're maxed out, we cannot work on this, then we can go knock on other doors to put that on their plate. But so far it seems like if we work with staff, they are able to engage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but everything is, I'm gonna be totally honest, we're talking about government. Everything is, here's your place in line, right? It is, it's just like when I talk about, we're talking about stormwater. Okay, yes, we have the engineers right now going through and they're gonna figure it out. By the time we actually get to end result, it could be 3 to 5 years. But you gotta start at some point, otherwise you're always gonna be going, oh, we really need to. And that's the thing is there is no such thing as instant gratification. We are talking about government, and government moves slow. But you gotta get yourself in line. Right? We have to get ourselves in line. And that's the problem is historically, I think people have gone to the county and said, oh, well, we want to do this. The county's like, yeah, no, we don't have time, we don't have money. Okay, and they go away. Where the answer is, okay, well, you don't have time and money now. But this is something we really want to work on, and then you keep on it.
Yeah.
And right until finally you actually get in queue to be a project to get a solution. You know. At least that's how I look at it, it's government. I don't expect anything to ever happen quickly with government. I think that's life,
It will not.
right? It's life, right?
Whatever happened to that old expression, I'm here from the government, I'm here to help you. I thought that was so famous.
Okay, so next one was the Lighthouse Park dock.
I don't know why this is here.
I'm not sure what that one's there, because I think that was part of,
It was that whole
it's
conversation.
that whole conversation
about
with,
parks and-
yeah.
and
I think we
With-
should
with
strike
Bennett
this until,
Knox.
until the new business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bylaws.
So let's go.
We have to do anything to amend the agenda or anything like that, anything formal, or we
What, to amend
strike it,
the bylaws?
or the doc, about the doc, we just.
So I sent everybody a copy of the bylaws.
We just moved down to the doc, okay.
So we moved on from the doc.
Okay.
Okay, so the amendment to the Point Rivers Community Advisory Committee bylaws to reflect Whatcom County Code 2.03 regarding advisory groups. I sent everybody a copy of the document, which is only a few years old.
Mhm.
Currently, I think we just need to make a motion to strike the requirement to be a US citizen.
It's not that easy, just to make them,
Make a motion to strike portion.
And we are required to do this?
Yes, because under the Whatcom County just amended that all advisory committees no longer have to be US citizens because they wanted to be more inclusive, since that we don't actually have any power for just advisory.
Is there still a requirement of some US citizens on?
So
resident,
just,
Just resident.
resident.
Yeah, just as a informational, I was confused because it noted that you had to be a resident with few exceptions.
Mhm.
And now it didn't say that anywhere in the ordinance that I saw.
I didn't either.
So I I responded immediately to email wise
Mhm.
to the county executive's office where we got it. And asking for a definition of that. And that was 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard
The
anything.
definition of resident,
Yeah, what's a resident and what are the exceptions? Because it mentioned that in the.
Yeah.
In the thing, and I haven't heard anything, just informational for us. I agree with you. All we have to do, I think, is strike that it was
Because resident is something different from property owner, for instance.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
right,
our confusion, I know.
Yeah.
So for now, I think we just need to strike the portion that says US citizen.
Mhm.
And then once we get an answer, to the definition of resident, we can then make that amendment
Okay.
at that time.
I'll be happy to bring that to the next meeting in that form.
Perfect.
Okay,
Sounds good to me.
which brings us to the next item. Um,
what is that next item, Brian?
Well, the next item is when I was speaking, when we had a comment, from Lee regarding a friend of, or someone she knew that was concerned about, ingress egress on, Tyee and Gulf from businesses because they had been stopped by a sheriff and ticketed. The Public Works, were going to cut, well, stated they were on their way out here to review that. And I haven't heard anything from them. I'll get back and check with them to see. That was supposed to happen, I think, a week or so ago. So I'll see if they've made any. However, the one thing they did tell me is there is absolutely no site plan for the market or probably from any place else there. as far as it comes to traffic control and stuff like that. Plus, they also noted that, traffic control on private property is not the business of the sheriff generally.
Not the sheriff,
Yeah,
yeah, but it is public works, right?
public works as far as sight distance, so that things are safe. The one that stands out to me every time is anytime I pull out of the post office. When I look to the right, I'm just seeing, shrubbery and stuff. It's like, you've got to get out, I'll get out.
Right, that's, up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, I'll follow up on that and we'll know a little bit more. Since I'm talking still, I believe the next thing is the request to prioritize an amendment, assign staff to work with PRCAC for necessary and timely amendment to, or the special district, Point Roberts, and the sub-area community plan. This came about for me, and I'm the one who put it on the agenda, so cavalierly. And
That's fine.
yes, thank you. When I was reviewing Prakash's review of our year's work, I remembered that we had done some work on affordable workforce housing and stuff like that. That was a year ago, last December. And it didn't go anywhere because there wasn't there isn't community support for it because the community is 75% Canadian owned and they don't want to pay, which is my suggestion that the same law that's in effect 2 miles in that direction be applied here, that the empty houses, the ones that are second homes for folks that are doing well enough to have a second home, would pay a fee for that benefit. Also, I'm sure the Airbnb people probably are not supportive of that, etc. Nonetheless, thinking about the whole thing is, we do need to do something. We do need to address affordable housing. It needs to be done as part of infrastructure, really, and it needs to be probably done not piecemeal as was originally proposed, but as just a full overblown amendment to the whole Point Roberts Special District and sub-area plan. But that it's not just affordable workforce housing, it's zoning, it's infrastructure, it's everything.
One policy.
Yeah, and if we don't ask for it, we'll never get it. And
So
it seems, go ahead.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I talk like this, you go ahead.
With the change in designation to urban, isn't the county required to do the same thing?
Well, that's, no laughing on you in there. One would think so.
That is part of the discussion that we need to have.
Okay.
Because before we can do the sub-area plan, it basically, it has to go in order. Where you have to have an economic development plan. Then you do your sub-area plan, then you do your rezone. And our change in designation and everything, we have to. I've been saying this for like 5 years, we have to do a rezone.
Yeah,
Everything in Plant Roberts is a conditional use permit, and it's really annoying. And the fact that our garage on Gulf Road, which isn't allowed on Gulf Road, but it's a conditional use permit because it was there before, it's existing non-conforming. If for some reason that went out of business for 12 months,
Right.
we can't have another one, not just in Gulf Road, in Point Roberts, period, because we don't have any zoning that allows it. So this is something like, this is important things like that we can't have so many different things because we lack zoning. The marina is a conditional use permit, Woodby Tell is a conditional use permit, the transfer station is a conditional use permit. It's like, it's really ridiculous because you can't have a functioning, proper economic space if you don't have appropriate zoning.
So if you don't have a plan, that's.
And I think it's important also that we start working on this now and we go to the Port of Bellingham, first quarter this year. So that we can start working on it and get it done, Because I can see that homes in Point Roberts might start getting scooped up pretty darn quick with the new rules that DC is putting in for next year. That is going to limit all their Airbnbs. Like, if you have an Airbnb, yeah, you might not have one next year because they've changed all the rules and limited how many Airbnbs there can be because of the lack of rental housing for workers.
Exactly.
So they're gonna go look in other places to buy properties
That's
as Airbnb income. And we are right for the ticket,
We're in the right spot at the right time, and I say right time, just by default.
right? So I think it's important that,
Sorry. Are you saying before we can work on this item, we, the economic development plan?
well,
Or,
I agree. I agree with Allison in the sense that, yes, it's,
Yes.
that is the process. And I think this, if anything, just augments why we need to move forward on the economic development plan. So, I'd be delighted to put that on our agenda for next time. And, we can, brainstorm how we're gonna get that done.
yeah,
Question for you. So the economic development plan, is there performance for that? For a city our size?
You know what, I'd love to pretend I knew anything about that, but I don't.
You understand why I'm,
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Clear
Because-
background, yeah.
yeah, it's the, you go on a journey and you don't know where you're going,
Right.
you know? And it would be nice to have a pro forma because then it makes so much easier to work on.
Right. And it's hard to have an economic development plan when you don't know what you need.
But that's the point, is,
Right,
you're starting a journey and don't know why the hell you're going.
right.
well, that's why, so that's what the Port of Bellingham does. In unincorporated areas for Whatcom County, that's what they,
So they have,
do,
Yeah.
right?
okay, so it's like, that's major work item for us in 2024.
Yeah,
That is a big-
it's to work with the Port of Bellingham to, we gotta get the ball.
And make sure the assumptions that they have, because you always start with a program like this, you're gonna have assumptions, and you wanna make sure the assumptions are correct. And,
Well,
and I
I
don't
feel-
want some autonomous collective, saying, here's what we deem to be your assumptions.
I will bring for the next meeting, I actually have a poster size, like, bigger than that whiteboard, that I paid for at Whatcom County PDS, that is a Point Roberts zoning.
And,
I have a full size.
and like I said, the assumptions or, what way you're gonna move forward on this. And I don't want some, like I said, some group going, this is what we're playing with, this is what we're thinking.
Would it make sense for us to invite the person or the department at Port of Bellingham who we would be working with to one of our meetings to tell us what they can do and what they need us to do to begin this process?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to first, reach out to the Port of Bellingham, telling them that, this is, and like I said, and this is where working with our representative Timmons, Alicia Rule, Congressman, because they all actually have relationships with the Port of Bellingham. To be able to help us get them on board with, we need this, especially with our change in designation effective.
Change, that's
But
to an
anyway,
arbitrative life, the changing designation. Yeah.
so,
So I got something just pop back in when I'm thinking back to what you said about what's gonna go on in Tuwassett or in BC.
NBC.
When is that formal implementation? Is that Jan 1 or when do they start?
I know I saw articles about it in October. Let me see. May 2024.
Okay, so there's gonna be something significant happening here on the point. There really is. I have a sense.
There is already.
I know there is that sense that everything that's available out there, somebody's gonna have. It's gonna be focused on if it's available. I don't care whether it's land or whatever, even the golf course. that's that, I look at that golf course and I'm wondering what's in store for the golf course. It's not gonna be a golf course. Take a condo there,
Yeah, so yeah, they've got
condo land.
these rules for Airbnbs, because I guess there was also, didn't read the whole thing. There's people who own 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
Well,
no, that's,
they're like,
you know,
So,
So where does
Is-
Whatcom County come, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, looking forward to 2024, kind of major work items that, you know, there's some hopefully that
Mhm.
move off or at least are on track and we can go work on others. So this may seem like a big one. Are we still working on this Main Street? Or does that also get superseded?
so Main Street is one of those ones that, again, without enough engagement from people willing to actually do work. And aren't ones that just like say, oh, well, I want to sit on a board, I don't get sitting on a board, but actually willing to do the work. That is where the problems come in. Because you need 5 people who are actually willing to spend time and do some work to do it. And that has been difficult. That's all.
But even for that, it seems like we should have a economic development plan for,
So, yeah, it would help,
right?
because then maybe we could get more business owners that would be more
Interested.
engaged.
more engaged, not even interested in.
Yeah, engaged.
And that's the one.
And I would think, for next year, our stormwater, it's moving.
Right.
It's just gonna keep moving along. Like, it's gonna have its pace and it's gonna move along. I think our broadband is gonna be the same way.
Yeah.
It,
How much
it,
that we can do it.
we just, that one's gonna be a lot of just follow up, where we at, where are we at, where are we at? What can we do?
PA hopefully gets resolved, we have some solution.
Yeah,
So where I think then it's going to be down to, Whatcom County Parks. For, Lighthouse Park and, trying to get things done, get a boat dock,
get a boat dock, get things.
all of those different things, so.
Bring some life
And
back into
and
it.
then doing and working on the plan and
Yeah.
trying to work with the port, I think it's a lot of work, just even the changes we did to 2072. That was going on for like 3 years before I came on. And maybe 4,
Well, the,
because we got that signed in 2020 or 2021,
the character plan,
it no longer exists.
I know, but that's where it started.
Yeah, that's where it started.
And that was 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So, that just gives some historical perspective.
Oh, and I've been waiting for a few replies back from the county, about some clarification on the tree permits.
Asked about that, yeah.
So, 'cause I had someone come to me and say, well, Point Roberts isn't listed on the tree removal permit application.
Tree removal.
There's a tree removal permit application. And we're not listed as one of the overlay districts that requires it. So I did email the county going, okay, was this an oversight when you guys made this and you forgot that 2072 has this requirement because it doesn't list us as one of the overlay districts requiring it? Because according to enforcement, absolutely you have to have a tree removal.
Yeah.
So it just makes people confused. You're like, oh, I need a tree removal permit, you go grab the application and you're like, oh, it's not one of the overlay districts, right? So then they think they don't need one. So I'm trying to get some clarification and maybe get them to, so just update the form.
Yeah. So, my request would be that when you do something like that, send an email like that, that has something to do with what we've discussed. you CC us, does that make sense?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
that was just one of those, somebody yelled at me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Somebody yelled at, why don't we have trade?
I'm not complaining, yeah. So, yes, I'm glad that you brought up tree retention. I'm also curious where the Maple Beach seawall situation.
We had left the Maple Beach seawall on hiatus until the elections were.
Right, so that needs
So
to go back.
that will go back for,
Seawall goes back on the agenda.
for spring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then the other thing that I'm thinking is, since it's been a year, since you very eloquently composed the state of PR letter, perhaps it would make sense for us to do another
Yeah.
and have that be an annual.
You want to update that one?
Why do you look at me?
Because you don't want to erase
You
it.
did it, you did such a great job.
See what happens?
It seemed to just roll off your.
Well, it's like the albatross, okay? It's around your neck.
So I didn't have anything planned for next week. Okay.
It can be done anytime.
No, yeah.
You know, as long as we have it, you know, we can do it for January or February,
Yeah.
so we have something to start the year off.
Yeah, I think
I'll take the,
the year in review, right, perfect, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
One other thing I have, sorry.
Yeah.
anything else?
I was just saying, the email I sent to Mark Rathonius,
Mhm.
I'll just forward it to you.
Okay, thank you.
So looking forward again, 2024 for items to work on. What happened to the work item that you had, Brian, on the TBD
Mhm.
funds? Seems like that's another thing that unlocks a lot of potential if we were able to make something happen there.
That has gone, last I heard it was Sharon Shoemaker's office, but I don't know if it's gone beyond that.
Yeah, it was, Sharon Shimoff was working on it on the
Legislative.
legislative side
Mhm.
to see if the RCW could be amended.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is a follow-up with Sharon to see how that went, if it went through fall session or if it's spring session when, you know, her
Yeah.
proposal would be.
Okay, so who would do that? Who would follow up?
Eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
It's been in touch with Sharon about them.
Yeah.
Is that you, Brian?
Sharon's talking to me. I'm sorry. No,
Sharon. Sounds like a-
oh, that's my wife. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I follow up on that because, it was, myself and Scott.
Oh, right, that's right.
We should start.
Yeah,
That's kind of crucial if you want to do something.
Right, if you want.
Infrastructure and.
yeah, I know we have like 1.3 million in the
Yeah.
fund, so
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes.
that we can't do a whole lot with other than
Look at
well, no, actually, when we get to the point of stormwater, we can actually use it for the actual. It is allowed to use.
Yeah.
It would seem that we would have a lot, we would need to have a lot of those answers in place for Port of Bellingham. Start working on this.
Yeah, so next year it's just gonna be following up on, you know, the stormwater, those are just all gonna be follow-ups. But priority one. Would be an economic development plan, sub-area plan, rezone. Because all done in 1 year,
That would be.
but those are the three, items. We're good, but we're not that good. And then following up on, available uses for community. And then this continuation with, Walton County Parks. Infrastructure. And I think that's lots.
Just keep following up on the,
There are others, yeah.
on the network, on the network and so on. Just business.
So Whatcom County Parks is launching their master plan review this year. And one of my pet peeves with the county is always that they do stuff without consulting with us.
Well, I think that's why it's, you know, imperative, your letter that, you drafted for Bennett Knox. And then it might just be a monthly email following up of when is the plan being discussed? We wanna make sure the plan, ours is included in this plan and making sure that, you know, you're annoying but friendly.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Okay.
Right.
I think that's it for the,
So is that the
Next
sort of
year.
thing, I just need some procedural, I'm happy to do that, but I wanna know, do I need to check with the committee before I send a letter? Or
You
should
can-
I
so
just email
you can,
ongoingly and copy everybody on that?
yeah, so you're just, at that point, you're doing follow-up.
Yeah.
You're not actually asking,
Initiating it.
you're not asking for something in, you know, in particular, you're just saying, can I get it up? Can
Good.
I get an update?
Yes.
Yeah, you're gonna need to ask everybody, hey, is it okay if I ask for an update? No, ask for an update.
Right.
Thank you, God. We have our open session, anyone online? No, I'll start with Jared. Jared, you got anything?
Oh, all good.
All good, please?
Nada. No, thank you.
User? I think that's the newspaper. Gentlemen in the audience, do you have anything you'd like to discuss?
No.
Nada?
Uh-oh.
Anybody who is on the committee?
You wanna talk about Friday?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Okay, I'm being neurotic,
Yeah,
okay.
no, that's fine.
right?
Yeah, so, Circle of Care bus is, taking carolers around tomorrow night. Start at the fire department at 5, and then we have an itinerary, it's all posted on Nextdoor and Posty Point. Heading to Cora's Corner, then to Kniskis, then to the grocery store, then down to Maple Beach and back to the fire department, so come along and sing carols with us. And Bill will be in, I mean, he needs to have a second suit, I think, so that he can send another one to
Well,
the.
I just need a, and
I didn't stop and get your hat. Are you on the bus tomorrow night?
I'm driving the bus.
He's driving the bus tomorrow night.
I'll get you, what
In
time
his
you,
suit.
okay, I will get you a hat. It might not be the hat that goes with it, but I have another one.
Okay,
Okay.
as long as it fits on my fat head.
I've got one that's adjustable like a baseball hat.
Thank
At my house. Okay.
Thank you. Thank
Since
you.
I bought him his Santa suit.
No hat.
It didn't come with a hat.
It had, it was said hat. I'm looking through the whole thing and go, no hat.
But yeah, I bought him a Santa suit.
Thank you for doing that.
By the way, it looks good.
It looks good.
Oh, boy, is that a good looking
And I
set.
do thank everybody who contributed to our Christmas tree that we have here at the community center. For gifts for children and our seniors. The tree is full underneath.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's great.
It's
full.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everyone.
Good Friday meal tomorrow. Very good Friday meal.
Well, I'll be here handing out presents in the morning.
Yeah, so Friday, if it's chicken tomorrow and it's well, and they're doing a really good, they've done a very bang up job. I mean, really. From what. Can't complain about it. Should be clean. There's gonna be new toilets.
We're working on the community center.
Gonna work on the community center, so
Monday.
I'm replacing the 3 toilets. They said lids, I said no. So we'll get all new toilets and stuff, that's good, and like I said, the meals have been very well, the place has been cleaned up. It's been, we'll have a camera, and we're gonna formally install that camera up in the hallway, we've done a few things, a few issues, and we'll own those pillars.
It's all the different community groups working together.
It's working, it's working,
Anything else or motion to adjourn?
a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Just wanna make sure I didn't keep.